guys. So huge thank you to Cassie for inviting me on here. I'm super excited. I wrote out some notes. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Tricia. I am a mommy to 6 little kids, and I went diamond last September. So the first thing I wanted to actually chat about was how you go diamond. I was just listening to a Bob Heilig podcast that I would recommend to everybody on negative thoughts, okay? And hey, Cassie. Okay, so he was talking about success, and I 100% believe this, okay? How to go diamond is basically small things that you do every day, and then one day you look in your back office and you have way more points than you did 3 months earlier or 6 months earlier or something like that, okay? Because I feel like even now as a diamond, I'm still sometimes looking for the magic. I'm still looking for the answer. I'm still looking for, I remember asking Wendy Larson twice during my journey. Once I was emerald and I went up to her at convention, first time I'd ever met her. And I was like, how did you go diamond? And she was like, Tricia, just keep doing what you're doing, okay? And then several months ago, her team went through all these crazy rank ups, and there was a new diamond, there was a new sapphire, there were like 3 new emeralds, there were new rubies. And I wrote to her again, and I was like, how do you do what you do? How do you build a successful team? And she said, Tricia, I've been doing it for twice as long as you have. Okay, keep doing what you're doing. And I still think though that sometimes I sit down to do my IPA and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I supposed to do? How in the world did I get here? Right? Like, how did I go emerald? How did I go sapphire? Right? And I think it really is doing the simple things that we know to do every day and trusting the process, right? And being willing to show up and get better at what we do, right? Okay, so that's kind of there's kind of how to go diamond, right? Just keep doing what you're doing and be willing to get better at it, right? But now I wanted to give you the base, like the actual steps that happened in my journey to diamond, and then how that all fits into Instagram and networking, okay? So, I was already on Instagram. I don't know how many of you know my story. I'm going to share it very, very quickly. So I was on Instagram for like at least 2 years before I had anything to do with Plexus. I was a preferred customer from 2015 to spring of 2016. During that whole time though, I was already on Instagram. So we had hardly any money, like some of you, I'm sure, can identify with. And so I decided to start a fixer-upper business with furniture. And that's how my Instagram launched, because I was constantly painting furniture. I was constantly going to thrift stores. And I was like, maybe other people would enjoy seeing what I do, right? Would enjoy the painting and the sanding and all of that, all the before and afters. And so I started posting it on Instagram. I accidentally sort of stumbled into this decor community, and I became like the girl that was decor on a budget because we didn't have any money. And so I started making all these friends, but you guys have to realize, like, some people will say to me, oh, Tricia, you just went to diamond because you already had an Instagram. You have to realize at some point in your journey, no matter where Plexus sort of lands you, or let me think how to say this. You have to do the work no matter what. Okay. I just feel like some people who go faster or fly to the top faster or something, they just did work in a time when we didn't see it. And so I don't think that I had anything special. I don't think I was anything lucky. I just think that I had done several years of work on Instagram networking 4 years before Plexus even entered the scene. Does that make sense? So anyway, I worked on Instagram, you guys, during nap time because I was very tired. I was very tired from 1 to 3 every single afternoon because I wasn't on any Plexus products, and I had 4 little kids, and I would sit on the couch on my phone and I would like and I would comment intentionally just to do it, just to build my Instagram, because I thought some magical time in the future I might be able to make money from this, right? For 2 hours every single afternoon, okay? I would find big accounts and I would go and I would comment on their stuff every single day. And then eventually they started following me back. And then eventually we started collaborating on stuff, and that's how my Instagram grew. So it sort of started out of the whole, like, I didn't have any money. I didn't want to stay where we were. I needed to figure something out. So that's kind of how I built my Instagram. Okay, so then I joined Plexus as a wholesale ambassador May 2016, and I only knew to do one thing: send cold messages. Okay, so I sent like 2,000 cold messages that were very, very cheesy. Okay, they were very cheesy. But one of those cold messages, and I added a few people. Like I went silver pretty fast with 3 strangers who then pretty much quit immediately, all from Instagram. But then I just kept sending these cold messages. Okay, I got ignored and ignored and ignored and ignored, but we had no other income coming in, so I just kept going. Kind of like out of a hungry desperation kind of thing, right? One of these cold messages that I sent ended up being a girl who really did need the products, and she asked for a sample. She was like 1 out of 2,000. 1 out of 2,000. Okay, she was my first level 1 gold. And she signed up her sister-in-law, who then became my first level 2 gold. So that's kind of how the whole thing started, right? But then I went through a lull. Where I had set my goal. I was going to be like, I'm going to be emerald by December. And I was still gold by December, that following December. And I was working really hard, okay? And the other thing that Bob Heilig was saying in this podcast that I was listening to this morning is you've got to just keep going with the action. Keep going with the action, keep going with the action, and trust the process. That's something even Sonia Dudley has said, is you've got to trust the process, but you've got to be doing consistent action and believing that all these actions are going to lead to the results, right? So I put up you know how like people have these gorgeous graphics now, like Breanne Coolidge and Brittany Hitch and Abby Kappa, they have these gorgeous graphics now, right? I put up pretty much #1 winner for ugliest graphic ever, advertising a 7-day slim trial. I was like, here's an ugly graphic. It can help you with sleep and energy and one other thing, whatever. Who wants to try it? Stranger on Instagram wrote to me and said, sure, I'll try it. Give me more information. She was 2 days into the pink drink, and she sent me another message on Instagram, and she said, how do I sell this? Like, what in the world, right? I had no idea who she was. And I wrote back to her, and I'm like, hey, would you be free for a phone call? And she said no, but she joined as an ambassador, and she had incredible influence over her network, and she was my first emerald, right? Okay, so then the month that I went emeralds, then I feel like my team sort of went through a lull again. All the highs and lows of business, my goodness, right, guys? Okay, I have yet to see a team that said, like, everything is in high momentum all the time. Maybe you guys are that team. I don't know. But anyway, my team has just gone through highs and lows and lulls and momentum and all the things. But anyway, my team kind of started then going through a lull as soon as, by the way, when that woman joined my team, I went from gold to emerald in like 5 months. Okay? No idea who she was. Okay. And I think she found me through like a giveaway or a homeschool hashtag, like something nuts. Okay. Okay. So then I was still just doing my thing, still trying to connect with people on Instagram, like I always do, still putting up my posts. And I'm going to talk about that more in a second. But then I was part of this group of like 5 girls, and I really didn't know any of them. I think maybe I knew the girl who invited me, and we were going to do this hashtag called like minimalistic mama or something. So she'd invited like 5 different women. We were all in this little group together, and we did like a hashtag thing like 5 Mondays in a row, and then the group was going to end. Well, one of these girls in this group who, like I said, I didn't know, she liked one of my Plexus posts on Instagram. So I was going through this time where everyone who liked my Plexus post on Instagram, I still do it occasionally, but anyway, I would send them all a message. Hey, thank you so much for liking my Plexus post. Have you ever tried it? Something like really, really simple. Okay. And I sent her a message because she liked my post, and she wrote back and she was like, no, I used to be in direct sales for another company. And so I really like being supportive of other direct sales MLM sort of people. Okay. The minimalist mama thing shut down. Like, we were done with it. It ended. And I kept putting up my posts, and the 2 of us didn't talk anymore, okay? And she wrote to me and was like, okay, I really need some energy. Can you tell me more about this 7-day trial? So I sold her a 7-day trial, and same thing. Like, she tried it for a few days, I feel like, or maybe for the full week. And then she wrote to me and she said, can I please see a copy of your company's compensation plan? And I was like, what? Like, no one had ever asked me for that before, but I was like, sure, whatever. So I sent her our company's compensation plan, and she just like went crazy. Okay. She went from, hey, can I see a copy of your compensation plan, to literally signing 20 to 40 level 1s a month after month after month after month. And she was my first level 1 sapphire. A lot of you probably know. Her name's Marianne Anderson. But I did nothing special. You guys, I did nothing special to sign that gold, to sign that emerald, to sign that sapphire. I was just showing up and I was doing my thing, right? And they showed up too, right? Okay, so to be quite honest, I feel like, again, like 2018, you guys, was massive for our team. Massive for our team. It's when I pushed to diamond. We had month after month where we were adding high 200, high 300 levels 1 through 4. I mean, it was crazy, okay? And now for probably a year, we've been going through the lull again, okay? And sometimes it can be this is not even really what I was planning to talk about, but here we go. Sometimes it can be so incredibly frustrating because you're like, I wasn't doing anything special then, but you keep racking your brain. Like, maybe I was, maybe I had better wording. Maybe I was sending more messages. Maybe I was, who knows what, right? But it's all about showing up, getting better, right? Reading the books, listening to the podcast, and trusting the process. And that is one of the most frustrating, hard things to do in this business. But I really don't think there's any magic. I really don't think there's any secret beyond that. I really don't. Okay. So anyways, that is the practical aspects of how I actually went diamond, right? Like how I actually hit 4,500 points, all of that, how I built a team. Okay. So about Instagram and about filling your funnel, because Cassie told me, and I was sort of stalking your team page a little bit. I think I'm actually going to grab some of your posts and move them over to my team page because they're so awesome, about filling your funnel. So then she asked me to talk a little bit about filling your funnel on Instagram. So I was going to give you guys a few practical things that I do to fill my funnel on Instagram. By the way, I think all my runners came from Instagram, all of Marianne's team. She has, I don't even know, 2,000 plus people on her team, all pretty much came from Instagram. All of them, okay? So all of her runners, I think all my runners came from Instagram. I have sponsored like 400, 500 people probably between customers and ambassadors. At least I would say 90% of them come from Instagram because I pretty much did not have a network really. So anyway, I'm going to talk about how you even build enough influence or networking or whatever to be able to sign people off of Instagram, okay? So I already had that in place with the 2 to 3 hours of commenting every day, right? So people already kind of knew me. And the things that I would say help build your numbers would be giveaways. I wouldn't do too many of them, but I feel like giveaways, connecting, all that networking behind the scenes, you guys, is so important. Stories are like the most important thing you do. This right here, talking to your audience, okay? Because they're not going to know who you are, and the only way they're going to buy from you is if they trust you, and the only way that they're going to trust you is if they hear you and they feel like you're friends, right? Okay, and then being vulnerable, and then I would say consistency and hashtags. So every single post of mine, you guys, gets hashtags. And make the hashtags generally fit with your post, but 100% fit with who you are and who are the people that you want to attract, okay? So when I was going through a time when I I was attracting a lot of like poor people. I'm not being mean. It's just true. Like I was kind of like a poor person and I was attracting a lot of poor people. Someone told me to look at the hashtags I was using, and I was using a lot of like budget, living on a budget, right? And it's very, very important to realize that your hashtags will attract the people that you want, right? So whether it's hashtag homeschool, hashtag target dollar spot, like they will attract different people based off the hashtags you use. And always use the hashtags, okay? And you can also find people to message through hashtags. So one Valentine's Day, everything was really quiet. I was like, okay, I want to drum up some business. I want to send out some messages. And so I typed in like Valentine's Day decor target spot or something like that. And then I messaged all the people who had similar Valentine's Day decor as me. I was like, hey, I see we have the same decor, right? So you can even find people through hashtags. Okay. Okay, I wanted to pause. I feel like whether it is Facebook or whether it is Instagram, you have to view it as your leads source, right? It is so incredibly important that you always have new leads, because new leads equal new ads equal possible new runners, right? And your business moving forward. So it's so important that you always have new leads. But I did want to pause here for a second and say you've got to find where your strengths are, okay? My strength is not Facebook. My strength is not Facebook groups. I watched a great video on someone whose strength is Facebook groups. And I was like, aha, now my strength is going to be Facebook groups. So I joined 5 or 6 groups. Okay. I did nothing from them and I signed no one from it. Okay. So essentially it was kind of like a waste of time, except to give you this illustration here today, right? Okay, so you've got to find your strength. So if you feel like Facebook is your thing, keep running with Facebook, okay? If you want to branch out and try Instagram, but I'm going to tell you, it takes time to build trust. You have to be on there talking to your people day after day after day, right? So the sort of messages that I send on Instagram, I don't send cold messages anymore. I send probably like one specific, hey, do you want to try my product sort of message, maybe once a year to very, very, very selective people. If, like, for example, I just did a giveaway with a very cool girl. She was homeschooled, very hard worker, already a business owner. And she had commented on one of my posts and said, I'm struggling with these health issues. So I specifically wrote to her and I said, hey, is it okay if I just send you some samples? Like, I really want you to try this, right? But I don't even do that very much. The messages that I send, and I sent 25 of these before I even jumped on here today. Okay, so as a diamond, you guys, you got to keep working, okay? You got to keep going. Is I message my new followers and I say, hey, my name is Tricia, and I send a picture of myself or my family, and I just say, I chat on Instagram, or I chat here about this, this, and this. I would love to hear more about you. And then they write back and we have a conversation. One time out of maybe 100, it organically leads to the products or the business, but most of the time it just opens up the conversation. And then there is a higher chance they will go to your feed and they will look through your stuff and they will start getting to know you. Okay, the other message that I send is a compliment message to my non-followers. So for example, find a feed on Instagram where you really, really love their content and the value they give. Go to the people that they follow, because the people they follow will probably be similar to them, and then go through them. If they are a blogger, read their most recent blog post and then send them a message about it. Hey, I really loved your blog post because XYZ, okay? If they have stories spinning, watch their stories. Like, first go through their feed and see if they would be like a genuine friend. Like, if you think they would be genuinely cool, right? If they have stories spinning, watch their stories and then send them a message about their stories. But anyway, that's like a compliment message, I feel like, to people that don't follow you, but you think they're very cool. I have never signed anyone from a compliment message. I have signed people from the introduction messages. And sometimes it will be that they ignore me for like 3 months, and then later they send me a message and they say, hey, Tricia, tell me more about these products. And I scroll up and I see that I had sent them one of these introduction messages 3 months before. Like, seriously, right? Okay, I'm trying to think what else. This is what I do practically, you guys. You know how people talk about like, what is IPA? Again, one size does not fit all. So your IPA might look a little bit different than the girl sitting next to you, her IPA, okay? To me, IPA is, what do you see actually moving the needle forward in your business? What can you do every single day that directly leads to people buying from you and you signing runners, right? For me, IPA is doing Insta stories, talking on Insta stories just like this, okay? Even if I'm not talking about Plexus. Because that is how I feel like my network gets to know me and trust me. So it's very, very important. Even if I'm talking about capsule wardrobes, or even if I'm talking about, hey, here's how you style a small table, that you're giving your people a reason to trust you, and you're giving your people a reason to come back. Because the last thing people want to see is another feed full of, hey, look what I'm selling. But they will come back if like Plexus fits into your life, but Plexus is not your life. And I think it's similar on Facebook, but Instagram is even worse about this. Like, everyone's selling something on Instagram. So you have to be adding value over there, right? What are you good at? What can you add value to other people about? That's what your Instagram feed needs to be full of. You do not want to be salesy. You want people to be coming back. Okay, so how you get people to trust you, I'll end with this. How you get people to trust you is pretty much 3 things, okay? Be consistent. You guys, whether it's your Plexus business or whether it's Instagram or whether it's Facebook, whatever you do, please be consistent. Okay? Number 2 is connect behind the scenes, whether it's sending your little introduction messages or whether people comment on your feed and you comment right back to them or whatever. The other thing I will do is that if I send someone a message and they write back to me, I will immediately go to their feed and like their last 5 to 10 posts, because I feel like that is adding value. Because on Instagram, even more than on Facebook, likes are everything. Likes are everything. Likes open up the algorithm. Likes just say like you are being seen. So it's something very small that takes like 7 seconds that you can do to add value to someone else, to someone else's feed, is to like their last 5 to 10 posts, right? And then do stories. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I don't know. I hope that's helpful, guys. If you have questions, please drop them below. Thank you for letting me come on here. Bye, guys.